Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the city council meeting of Tuesday, March 3rd. Call the meeting to order and ask for approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda excluding line item number 2. And the rest as presented. Is that the audited financial statements?
Yeah.
Oh, the packet wasn't amended?
Okay,
I'll start over.
okay, start.
I move to approve the agenda as presented and request that all presentations and discussions be conducted respectfully and in a manner mindful of everyone's time.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So, first on the agenda, we have public comment. If you'd like to make public comment, please raise your hand when we come up, give your name and mailing address. Keep it under 3 minutes of kind and respectful comments. Michelle?
Michelle Lauer, PO 719. It might surprise you all that I'm actually here to put in a good word for Mr. Tim Ramey. Me and Tim are on the opposite sides of the fence a good amount, possibly even have been a recipient of his criticism on a few occasions, but I'm not on Facebook, so that's usually where my head. I was nervous when he was appointed to DRB. I even thought it possible that maybe would have to quit. That said, while he was on DRB, I found him perfectly reasonable and respectful to work with. He never disregarded me or the rest of DRB's thoughts or input. He clearly respected my experience on the committee, and I thought we had constructive discussion. I also believe him to be a strong advocate for affordable and middle housing, the #1 issue plaguing our town. He has shown a strong commitment to the city of Cannon Beach and its communities. The thing I feel like we all need to remember is be reminded that as the bigger city, we wouldn't know all these details about each other's lives, and how we spend our free time is completely our right as individuals we are. I believe in the system and how it's supposed to work. We're supposed to disagree. We're supposed to push back and ask questions. This cultivates critical thinking. I believe this to be part of the democracy. The main principle of democracy is based on political equality, ensuring all citizens have say, aka power of the people. It requires the rule of law, protecting the minority rights and guaranteeing civil liberties like freedom of speech. While he has been a good addition to DRB, I truly feel his background and experience would be suited for planning and advocating for steps forward to help alleviate the very prevalent issue of housing insecurity. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? Andrew?
Andrew Tyler, PO Box 664. Before I get started, I just want to say that it's daylight between Michelle and I. We don't agree on everything. Well, just to put that out there. I am also here to speak in favor of Tim Ramey joining Planning Commission. Tim and I have disagreed vigorously over the years, but we've moved from animosity to understanding, and even if it's when we agree to disagree. Tim's work on the budget committee has brought to light numerous issues in cities that are for it. His work on DRB has shown comedy. His private communications are his right. He at least has the courage to stand by his convictions rather than whispering them in private circles. And while these writings may have rubbed some of us the wrong way, one cannot disagree they demonstrate investment in the workings of our community. But the real reason I'm supporting Tim is because, as much as anyone in Cannon Beach, Tim has been amongst the most vocal supporters of increasing housing stock and in searching for and lobbying solutions big and small. I believe he cares about the issues beyond his own property line, understands the difficulty housing scarcity has brought on our community, its businesses, residents, workers, and that he is invested in developing innovative and meaningful solutions. To be sure, years of talking and scant results show, in terms of housing, status quo is not working. Having like-minded folks can leave us stuck in echo chambers. Remember the famous maxim about Abraham Lincoln, that he saw a team of rivals, believing that such would deliver the best results. The results I'm looking for is tangible progress on housing, and I believe adding Tim Ramey to the Planning Commission is a step in that direction.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience? Anybody on Zoom?
Yeah, I have Matthew Curtin.
Go ahead, Matthew.
Matthew, you're muted.
Go ahead, Matthew. You need to unmute, please.
There we go. My name is Matthew Curtin, and I live at 163 East Monroe with my husband, Richard Tapp. I'm making a statement to the city of Cannon Beach this evening, pleading again with the city to do something about the elk population, wreaking havoc in the neighborhoods and yards across the city, which have created an unsafe space for residents. As senior citizens and retirees, there are many times when we do not feel safe leaving our house to take walks and space in our yard because of the abundance of elk. We have contacted the city on several occasions to develop a plan, asking the city to develop a plan that includes engaging with residents to cull the herd of elk, a herd that is expanding almost monthly. There is little, if any, action that has addressed our safety concerns that we are aware of. By doing nothing, the city is creating and perpetuating an unsafe environment for residents and allowing herds of elk to damage our landscape, deterring us from walking and enjoying the outdoors, and putting us in harm's way. Our landscape, yard, and garden are damaged on a regular basis, and we have spent hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on landscape and planning, only for the city to turn their backs on us as retirees, trying to enjoy quiet and peaceful times at Cannon Beach. Again, the city must support us and strive to create and maintain a safe environment for all residents and visitors. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Thanks, sir. Anybody else in the audience? Okay, so we'll go on to our first action item, which is finalizing city manager Bruce St. Dennis's performance review for 2025, and Jody is here to lead us in the discussion. Good evening, Jody.
Good evening, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So we're gonna pull up Heather's email here real quick. So the evaluation was completed, I believe, in February. And unfortunately, Heather is out of country. So I am here to simply help you procedurally decide whether or not to adopt. I know that Ashley used to present it to you, but unfortunately, because Heather's not here and I did not write the memo, I cannot present it to you. So I'm here as you need me to, but generally speaking, if you agree with the evaluation as written, move to adopt. Or else we can delay the vote until Heather returns, which is in another, I think, 3 weeks.
Okay,
I think we had a good discussion last time and we were all in agreement.
I move to approve the results of city manager, St. Dennis's performance evaluation for 2025. The council agrees St. Dennis successfully performed the duties as city manager.
any further discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Council President Kerr,
Yes.
Councilor Ostrander,
Yes.
Councilor Hammond,
Yes.
Councilor Hayes.
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Okay, anything else? Okay.
Oh, sorry, so I do believe that you'll also need to vote on the merit increase as a procedural next step on that, since you approved the evaluation.
Okay. Anybody
I'm not prepared to do that.
We have to have a motion to grant or a motion to not grant. Either direction.
You can. You can make a motion and stay it until Heather can return if you have questions, or you can just not. You can ask that it be added to the next council meeting agenda, maybe even 2 agendas out so that we know Heather's back for discussion.
And it seems like in the past, you had a little bit more information here.
Okay. And unfortunately, I don't have a way to get a hold of Heather. So I recommend that you postpone that decision until when is your next council meeting? She should be back on March 21st, I believe.
So put it on in the first April meeting. Okay, everybody. With that?
I'm fine with that, but are we,
I will let her
Okay.
know that you're looking for direction. Yes.
Go ahead, here.
are we gonna? It's very enough.
Yeah, I think we're getting some feedback off of your audio, I think.
Are we
Okay.
gonna have more?
I didn't catch any of that. So, I heard Rusty say that you're getting feedback off of me, so it might be a mutual thing. I will tell Heather that you're looking for direction and you're hoping to discuss this as an agenda item on your April, I'll look up the date, meeting. Did you get that?
April 7th is.
April 7th. I will tell her that.
Okay, Gary needs to say something.
Yeah, I want to complete my thought. In the past, we've had, a survey of, kind of regional merit increases, and I think that that needs to be part of our consideration.
We did receive a survey of the total compensation packages from the surrounding area.
And I think that was in November, so we might need a little refresh.
I would like a review on it. I would also like an update on the status of the, compensation for, I forgot the completion of, the city hall. I would like to be refreshed on where we left that, because it's, is it considered it should be getting close to being considered substantially complete.
By August for City Hall.
Well, that's when it's complete.
No, that's substantial.
I'm not sure.
There's a time frame that's listed as substantial completion in the timeline we have
It's August.
presented tonight. For that project.
It's listed as substantially complete.
Well, in August, there's a date listed in their timeline saying.
It just looks like that was
Considered
complete.
completion.
It looks like that was the completion date, and I think there's a difference between complete and substantially complete. In fact, I believe the police station is considered substantially complete right now. Is that, am I?
Substantial completion usually means occupancy, correct? And then there's pickup work.
One might say building can be used as for its intended purpose to be substantially complete, which it's not currently substantially complete.
Sorry.
Although it is building wise substantially complete, it's a very obscure definition.
Until I present the project is substantial,
But an update on that compensation would be helpful for our discussion as well.
I thought the company was it to see if there's been any changes. Okay, is that correct?
cool, and then you read forward the document and any changes.
Right.
Do we need to make a motion for that or no?
No, I don't think so. Jody, we don't need a motion, correct?
A motion to talk about this in April.
To take all it until the April 7th meeting.
I don't need a motion for that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so next we have the City Hall and Police Station project updates. Come on.
Madam Mayor, we have Leslie Jones, who's the project manager for CETA on the project, and Jason Gray, who is a principal at PNC. Give you a welcome back to.
Thank you.
Happy to be here. So as it was just mentioned, both projects are moving along at a great clip, getting closer to being complete. As an update on City Hall first, where we are currently, what is in your packet, as always, is a snapshot in time, and so those photos are already a little bit outdated. What is currently happening for the City Hall project, finishes are being installed. On the exterior, the siding is continuing. The windows are all installed. I believe that's news since last time. The roofing is complete. We got lucky and had a beautiful weather window in January that PNC used to the best advantage, and the image that you see in your packet, that's the insulation being installed up on the roof. The one at the bottom center, that's the roofing installed in our mechanical level, so that's where the mechanical equipment will go in the center of the building. The interior finishes there are ongoing, painting and ceilings are about to start install. That will be followed by tile, casework, and flooring, those items that really allow you to see and envision how that space will be used. Also ongoing now in the site work, we have the concrete, the accessibility ramp, and our plaza, those are being formed and on the schedule for shortly. The budget update for City Hall. There's not too much to talk about here, except there will be a little bit more in a few moments about the furniture, but generally we are on track. There's no new contingency use that we have to present here. And so unless there's any questions, I think we can move on from there.
I have a question. I received notice in the mail about a DRB hearing for change and design request for the City Hall. What's the design request change that's being made?
So there's a couple components to it. One is the low retaining wall at Evergreen between the City Hall and the parking at the lower level. Originally, we had intended to keep that retaining wall. That was in an attempt to sort of limit the scope, limit the cost. It was working in place, and so we didn't design a new retaining wall. As the grading happened, looked at the condition of those railroad ties, which was the previous material. And because they're grading right up to it, the question was asked if we should, for longevity, replace it with a stone wall. And so that's one of the items that is being presented to the DRB. Also in the landscape strip along the sidewalk there, between the sidewalk and the street, when that was dug in there, we found a water line that is closer to the surface than we anticipated. And so that impacted a couple things. We had a street light that we had anticipated replacing, one of the globe lights there. The foundation for that conflicts with that water line. And so we're proposing to leave that one light in place. It will still match the lights across from Galloway, instead of replacing it with one of the new ones. And the third item in the same vein there about that water line. The water line is right under where we had planted, we're intending to plant short pines based on working with the arborist previously. the arborist came back out and is no longer recommending that. There's a couple problems, the water line is one. Also, there's an infestation currently with short pines, and so we're looking at alternate landscaping at the landscape strip along there.
Alright. Is it still in the trees?
Yes, so I think
Alright.
along that strip, it will be, I believe, a reduction of one tree, and there will be smaller trees. And they will be pushed a little bit further back where the water line is a little deeper and their survival chances are better.
Okay, and are all these changes affecting the budget negatively?
There will be associated costs with that retaining wall
Mhm.
replacement. Anything else?
No, it's just, I mean, it's the kind of the beauty of a GMP is that we gotta find ways to find savings within the budget or we go to a contingency use, so it's kind of, right now, just up to what the final design ends up being, and then if we can work some magic around.
Okay.
We're still have a significant amount of contingency here, which was part of the decision making.
Okay.
So I don't anticipate it will impact the drop.
I have a question. What was the 3750 to bowling for? In contingency, owner contingency?
That I would need to look back. I believe that is an insurance that, if you recall, an insurance related item. Like bowling?
For bowling, I think there's a public works fee, I expect the bowling for all of the improvement projects, so it can do that.
Yeah, you're right, it's a whole project.
Okay. And what did you say that was, Jen?
It's a public improvement project fee, so every time you do a public works improvement or a public improvement project, there's a fee you have to pay to bowling. And it's like 0.001 of the project cost.
So that's just, it just funds bowling.
Yeah, it doesn't go, there's a whole sheet you have to fill out.
I just wanted to make sure it wasn't some kind of fine. Yeah.
No.
We would have heard about that. Well, one would think. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Okay.
Okay, stay on to the police station. The police station remains a little further ahead. There, the exterior siding is complete. For the interior walk, we actually have our punch walk tomorrow. So we will be walking the interior of the building and looking at all the installs to make sure they conform with the documents. And that is, it's actually part of how we get to a substantial completion date. Typically, we go out, we look at the project, form a list of work remaining, that work gets priced, and then when that's done, we'll look at the calendar and put a date on the substantial completion. We anticipate that likely in April, I would say, is when we're looking at the formal substantial completion date. And then we're looking at a move date in April and a formal opening in May. So it's getting very close.
Look at May.
The exterior work there, that's still ongoing, so asphalt, I think, is getting ready in the next few days. There's some exterior light fixtures, exterior details and landscaping that is still pending. On this site, I will say we have lots of short pines as well. Arborist went to both sites. At police, we're able to maintain all of the planned short pines. The images here you see are the finishes, so the casework, the rub rail, the hallway, the squad room, and then those exterior details that are still underway. The budget for PD. Here too, it's going well. We have less contingency here, and I do wanna forecast one more item that it's an approved use that will come through the billing cycle next month. Last time we talked about that utility work under the highway, that's now been completed. When they dug to do that work, it turned out that that water line needed to go deeper than they had anticipated. And so there was an additional cost there. That was, well, the number's 18,697 for that. And that will come, next time at the next update.
And then you're not anticipating any other significant items?
No.
Okay.
That still will leave a remaining contingency, so as the project's near completion, we're looking at. How much exactly that will work out to be to get that money back to the city. Similarly with schedules, we're looking, as we near the end, looking at ways to expedite that. Particularly with City Hall, there may be ways to move that schedule over.
Yeah, as we get to this point in the job, we'll start reconciling the budget. So that way we can look at any savings that are there to pass on, maybe even carry it over to City Hall. So as we have the contingency that's remaining, and we're right now, we're projecting to have some GMP savings. We don't have a figure on that yet, but we are working to try to see what that's gonna be. So we feel like that's really good news to come to the end, especially having these large hits that we have with the contingency going underneath the highway. That we have not only savings in a GMP, but we still have savings left and a contingency that we can carry over. And then as CETA and PNC continue to work together on City Hall, we're finding all of these ways to try to expedite a schedule. Faster schedule means less general conditions. Another item to consider is if we can get everybody moved in fast enough, that gets everybody out of those trailers and you can take off rent off of those trailers. Other items to consider is, I know early on, we talked about a potential purchase of one of the trailers. The faster that you can, if y'all can come up with a decision on whether or not you want to purchase that trailer, that's even more dollars that you're saving on a GMP budget going forward. So these are things that we're constantly looking at. I believe CETA and PNC, we've said it all along, and talk about how it's not, we want to deliver you a great building, we want to deliver it on time, and we would like to try to get you money back. And these are ways that we're constantly looking on trying to do those and meet those goals for you. Is there any questions you have on the budget or what's out there?
I have a question on the police station, not the budget, or it might go into the budget, but as you mentioned, waiting for asphalt for paving, the parking area.
Yeah.
With the times that you have, with looking like you're projecting final occupancy, mid-April, is the asphalt plant going to be open? Can we get final occupancy without the parking lot being paved?
Yes. It's gonna be open and we'll be able to pay. We're already in the process of final grading it right now.
Okay.
And it'll be open for us to get there.
Alright.
Yeah,
So I just know sometimes it'll take late spring before they finally open.
Yeah, we had talked to them early on, cause sometimes plants will open up special, like we even looked at that during the December, January timeframe. But this particular plant had shut down to do some machinery work,
Okay.
so they weren't gonna open up at all, so we had talked to them months ago on preparing for this time.
Okay. So they would,
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
I think the last thing we have there, which we've already covered, is the schedule. This shows when we started and where we've gotten to, so on the police site, what you see there is us pulling back from some of those original estimates, finishing a little bit earlier than we had anticipated. Any other questions?
Good job.
Good,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to make sure it was the public works fee, 7,500 is for the projects.
Okay, thank you, Jenny, for joining.
Okay, so next on the agenda, we have the, award of cooperative contract for the purchase of office furniture and fixtures for the new city hall.
And Chris? Staff recommends that the furniture and fixtures for the new police station and city hall be purchased through the state of Oregon permissive cooperative contract. Utilizing a cooperative contract with the state of Oregon will benefit the city by allowing it to utilize pre-negotiated cooperative purchasing terms that are expected to offer both cost effectiveness and a streamlined procurement process. The budget for the furniture for City Hall is set at $350,000. If we go with the company called Titan, and those have already been bid. And anybody in the state can use the contract, and there were other companies, Steelcase and others that we could have used also. But the Hyphen purchase for all the furniture, including the additional chairs, I'll explain that, and then was $278,000. So budget was $350,000, and the cost, including the additional chairs, is $278,000. The additional chairs that we had ordered, I believe the number was 40 chairs for the audience area in the chamber. And the chamber is built to be able to handle more than that. And we couldn't buy that particular chair in like a quantity of 20, we had to buy it in quantities of 80, I believe. And so, we found a very similar chair and we were able to buy 20. And so there's a separate purchase order here to Exhibit B, and that is, shows the cost of the additional 20 chairs. We have 3 exhibits. This one, Exhibit A, if you look, it has the different generic spaces. For example, first one is a small and medium conference room. It tells you there's 2 of those in the design. Explained and talks about what the chairs are, the Golden preferred conference chairs and Steelcase relay conference tables with power bay. And the cost on those ranges from $10,350 to $12,862. We have that for everything, including the 13 offices, which are priced at $5,625 to $8,418. So if there, we have information, we can talk about any of the suites or the combinations. And then we have in the last exhibit, what room each one of these things exists in. So you can get a better handle on where we will be placing, furniture for foyers, et cetera. And each of the offices.
Anybody have any questions?
So we're just, moving forward with the city hall, but the plan is to use, the same.
We use
type
a
of work.
similar process for the police station.
So we'll do that one later.
No, we've already done, it was below the limit, so we've already
Okay.
done.
It looks full limit.
I don't know, that's-
I think it's 250.
Yeah, And I don't remember what the, furniture cost was for the station.
It would be nice to know.
Yeah.
144. Yeah, I'm sure Rusty, that works for me. Rusty said 144,000 for the police station was about what it was. Yeah.
I'll move to award the furniture and fixtures and additional council chamber chairs for city hall to Haytech.
There's, just for the record, I would like to say one thing and doesn't need any commentary, but I absolutely 100% think that the city hall is completely overbuilt. And I think we spent entirely too much money on the whole project. That's all.
Okay, any other further discussion?
I have a question about, the furniture, so this is just furniture, this is just chairs, desks, and cable management systems. That's all I saw in here, file cabinets, the other office style furniture that exists in there, is that all stuff that got put in storage and is gonna get reused? Or are we gonna have another contract before us to purchase other stuff related to city operations within the office space?
I suppose we really check for one of them.
And I have another while he's looking, I have another question too. On these that say 2 and like 13 and 3. Like the acoustic solutions, is that 3 at 15,000 or each? Or is that the total?
That's the total.
Okay,
There's 3 stations that they're doing acoustic treatments in.
and the total is that 15.5. Thank you, Rusty.
The 3 spaces are the 2 conference rooms and conference chambers.
The break room.
Yeah, they're gonna break room, the copy room, and one of the conference rooms, I think.
Chamber?
No, chambers is a different one.
Madam Mayor.
Yes, I can address some.
Oh, that's good. I'm sorry. Go ahead, come on up.
Okay. I can start with the acoustic examples. So the 3 areas are, as it says, the conference room, the coffee room, and the break room. Those are the areas, the staff areas of the building 4. Those are in this furniture package. The council chamber, the acoustic treatment there is covered by PNC. That's part of that's incorporated in the DMP. That's why you don't see it here. Similar with the casework and those other buildings, that's all accounted for in the DMP. And so it won't be another.
Alright, so we didn't say any furniture, we just threw everything away.
There was 45 chairs that we were bringing out of storage and they were gonna clean for 4,500.
Those are the chairs that are in the council chamber, the ones we used, the blue ones. we used to have.
On the attachment B, must be the first, at the bottom of the first page, it says in there, deliver the 45 existing chairs and the new 20 chairs.
Yeah.
And then cleaning the existing 45. Right.
And file cabinets, et cetera, are included in the price. And they're listed on, I think this is exhibit D, no, exhibit C. It's the validation package. And if you look at some of the pictures, it shows the file cabinets that are in.
Well, I saw that, I just didn't see a price listed in the exhibit A. It doesn't say, that's why I saw pictures of it, so arbitrary pictures, just with those face on it. Thing because there wasn't a price listed.
No, this is not the video shows, this attachment name.
Yeah, I can't hear what you're saying.
I'm sorry, I was mumbling to Bruce.
Oh, okay.
I was just letting him know, I was getting him on board with where Eric was is all. Just because in attachment B, it's only for $6,800. When Bruce is saying that all of this is included, all filing cabinets and everything are included in this 287,000 or whatever the number was. And so that must be the private, where it says private offices 13, and that calls out the task chairs, the desks, personal storage. Is that what that is? Yeah,
Oh, so it's just, it's an et cetera, and it's listed within that,
it's the 13 private offices.
yeah.
Yeah, and so there's maybe a dot, dot, dot after the cable box basket, but it looks
Okay.
like. Mhm.
Okay.
And same with the remaining areas, then you go down past the acoustic and the remaining areas. Furniture for open office workstations, break room, wellness room, IT, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so
That's
it's
all in the rest of this pack.
generic furniture.
Yes, and that's why this attachment C is in there, that shows us all the stuff.
Okay.
There's,
Right?
yeah, it says four-door letter follows with it.
Yeah, and then it calls it out in attachment C individually for each office, each space.
Any other questions? Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. And second. Okay, so roll call.
Councilor Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Councilor Hanlon.
Yes,
Councilor Hayes.
Yes.
Council President Kirk.
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Count the number of meetings we have to sit in these chairs.
I don't know, that's a lot between now and then. We got a lot going on.
Okay, so, next on the agenda, we have, the public hearing consideration of resolution 2606. This is a public hearing for the purpose of considering findings to support the CMGC contracting process for the Naples Park and Park Element Design and Construction Services Project. At this time, pursuant to ORS 279C.3355, I will open the public hearing in order to give any interested party a chance to comment on the draft findings for an exemption from the competitive bidding requirements. So staff, please present your report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Council discussed the construction manager / general contractor, or CMGC, construction delivery system for the construction of the Naples Park and Park Element project. For the city to employ a delivery system other than hard bid will require a resolution calling for the alternative construction delivery system. In this case, the alternative delivery system is a modified construction manager, general contractor method. Attached to resolution 2606, which includes findings of fact to support an exemption from the competitive bidding. And CMGC, the contractor, is part of the design process and has the responsibility / opportunity / incentive to solve problems in the design phase. And once they provide the owner with a guaranteed maximum price, or GMP, they have a stake in any future problems, and not just the owner unless the problem can be traced back to only the owner. And you had the exhibit which has the conditions and a copy of the resolution 2606 in your packet. You have to answer any questions.
Is there any questions?
I have a question about, the timing of when the finding of fact got listed on the city website and compared to the agenda. Was there a reason why the findings of fact needed to be posted 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, as opposed to waiting until the agenda was posted?
Yeah, because we had to post it, we had to run an ad in the Daily Journal of Commerce and the Daily Historian,
Okay.
letting them know about, letting contractors know that this was happening, and then let them know that they can come do the findings if they want to.
Okay, so there was a legal requirement for that to have been posted prior to when the agenda was posted. Okay. That's what I assumed, and sent an email out to the people who were saying that, but I just wanted confirmation that that was the case, that is why. with very low context, that was basically. So we're,
I want to point out that both the city hall and the police station were designed and built under CMGC.
Any other questions of Bruce? Is there any interested party wishing to comment on the draft findings for an exemption from the competitive bidding requirements? Anyone in the audience? Anybody on Zoom? No? Okay, if there's no further discussion, I will close the public hearing at this time and,
Just briefly,
who did?
Todd Watson.
Oh, okay. Good evening, Todd.
So can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, hey, just real quick. So this is to choose the builder, not the designer of the park. That's my only question.
Yeah. Oh, this is the builder, yes.
This is the builder. Did you hear that, Todd?
Yep.
Okay.
Thumbs up.
Any
Yeah.
other
Thank you.
questions? Thank you. Anybody else? If there's no further discussion, I will close the public hearing at this time and move to consideration. Anyone like to make a motion?
I move to adopt resolution 2606. A resolution of the Canterbury City Council adopting findings to support an exemption from competitive bidding requirements for the Necus Park and Park Element Design and Construction Services, declaring such exemption and authorizing a process to award construction manager, general contractor, CMGC contract.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call please, Jen.
Counselor Hammond,
Yes.
Counselor Hayes,
Yes.
Council President Kirk,
Yes.
Counselor Ostrander,
yes,
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Okay, thank you. So next we have the Naples Park and Park Element Design and Construction request for proposals. Bruce?
Yes, Madam Mayor. At their February 10th workshop, council provided feedback on the draft request for proposals for the Necus Park and Park Element Design and Construction Services. The revised RFP is here on attachment A. I believe there are two, one is I'm going to strike through, the other one is not. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, questions?
no, I think I incorporated a lot of our discussion that we had last time, this is before us.
One thing that I see here is, in section 2.1, in paragraph 4, we're giving the $6.5 million, but then it says the food pantry will come from a separate funding source and will be tracked separately from the park budget, but what is the budget for the food pantry?
Approximately 500.
And is that in here? It should be in here.
Okay, we can add that, but that's, there's two numbers, I think there's one was 365. Which was to purchase a unit or the cost of a unit that we're currently working from. And, the other was the cost to put on a, canopy. Match the other buildings' interiors at the time we were doing the project.
Right, but 365 to purchase a modular doesn't include putting it on the ground. It doesn't include installing it, right? The modular, because it would have to be permanently installed.
Yes.
And so there's a cost for that. Am I going down the right path, Rusty? On that?
I think that you are correct, but I think it's in $500,000. Because when we were getting the prices, and things may have changed, since then, but when we were getting the prices, the idea is that we would move the modular that currently houses the city hall and the police department to this location. And so that would have been should have covered the move.
This is so that price would cover, potentially would cover the move, the dealing with the foundation, the dealing with the getting the utilities hooked up to it, and all that goes into making a building a permanent fixture on the site.
I can't tell you that, because we never did a design on it. I can't tell you if we covered everything, but I believe that one thing we knew for sure, so we wanted to move it, because there was a high probability that we would move it. And so, that was, I believe that was part of the discussion we had.
I think we need to know that number before we approve this. And I think it should be in this,
We need to know what number.
for the food pantry. Because we can't just leave that open. Because the 6.5 million is for the park. And the things that go with the park, the food pantry is separate, but we need to know what that number is because it comes from a different funding source. Well, it says, but it says in here on 2.1, see that, paragraph 4, the new so construction of the new food pantry, which will come from a separate funding source, and it will be tracked separately from a park budget. It is anticipated additional funds will be available, but what are those funds? We can't just say, well, here, we want this for the park, but you can just give us a number for the food pantry.
Are you concerned that there's, blank check in terms of design of where the designers would potentially say, oh, well, it's gonna fit best in this other particular location that's gonna end up costing us $2 million to deal with? Is that,
Well,
as opposed to just,
because it looks to me like this is asking them to help us out with it. Am I wrong?
Yeah, so how can we put a price on something that hasn't even been designed or proposed? I mean, there is some numbers set aside in
Well,
the
we gave
general.
a 6.5, I'm sorry, Gary.
There is some money set aside in the general fund, I think that Bruce was talking about. So there are some set dollar amounts, but we don't know where this is gonna go until it's designed. And then we will say yes or no, or cut it back, or
But we can identify 6.5 million, so we should be able to identify some sort of a number for the food pantry.
The 6.5 million was people, our community wanted us to set a maximum amount. But we don't know exactly where the designers are going to find the best place for the food pantry on that site. Until they do, I don't think we can put a price tag on it.
We can absolutely put a price on it.
We can get
We
a
can-
price.
We can get a price, we can get a price for the modular, we can get an estimate of, we can get at least something, so we can put 750,000 or 500,000. We have to, I'm very adamant that we need a number in here for the food pantry.
except it may be,
And
rather
maybe
than
it
just-
changes, but I'm sorry, but I wasn't quite done yet. Go ahead, it's fine.
I don't think it's determined that we're going to put them into a new modular. I think that, part of what we're looking at is, is it going to be less expensive to save the classroom portion and repurpose it as a food pantry? And perhaps the restrooms for the park? Those are questions that none of us can answer until we get a designer to look at it.
Does it
So
ask?
I don't think, assuming at this point that we're going to put in a modular is even possible.
But does it ask that in here? Does it ask them specifically about where we're gonna put the food pantry? Can we save these buildings? Does it ask this?
No.
So you're assuming that that's what's gonna happen here, and that's not what this is asking for.
There was a budget that was, determined by this council. And there are elements, for example, we know that there was 365 and there was a certain amount, and I don't know exactly what it was, if it came out exactly at 500 or 600. or we can go back and do the research on how much money out of the original borrowing. Cause that was where it was gonna come from, that particular project. So we can go back and try to determine what those numbers are, but the fact is, we have a limit of 6.5 that was determined to be the budget. And we will work with whatever, whatever we have to work with in order to go ahead and complete the project.
But, and maybe Jody can answer this question, but shouldn't it? We either don't talk about the food pantry at all in here, but we have to have a place to ask them to find a place for us to put it within this. Or we have to give some kind of a budget, which you just said that we can do that. Jody?
So you don't have to put a budget in a design RFP. The 6.5 million was added because that is they need to know that going in. You can't go above this. The food pantry doesn't have this hard line on it. At least not to my knowledge. So to sort of limit a designer's ability to design before they even get a chance to brainstorm ideas, you're tying the designer's hands without necessarily needing to. Just because there's a budget number in an RFP does not make it sacred. So if you want to hold them to or if you want them to design to a specific number for the food pantry, you tell them that up front. You say, I don't want to go above this number, and then they do that. It's the 6.5, it was important to put it in the RFP document. Normally, I don't recommend that jurisdictions put their project budget in an RFP because it tends to encourage sort of bidding up to a number. And but this was a very specific number that was very specifically communicated to the city, and it was important that the city recognize that in the RFP. That's why it's in there to begin with. We don't have that same sort of need with the food pantry, especially, and I don't know if I don't want to speak out of line here, but I thought that the food pantry might contribute some, and we don't want to limit them in that regard. And if that, I'm misstepping on that, disregard, but I don't recommend that the city put a limitation on itself through an RFP process for the design team. You want to do that later for sure. And honestly, I'll recommend that later.
Sorry, so here's my thought process on it. The elementary school project initially wasn't given any kind of a budget, and then it ended up in litigation, and now this is why we are where we are. And that's why I think that it's very important that we identify numbers, or at least we all know what those numbers are, that we won't go beyond. That's why I think that pretty much explains myself. We don't want to end up in the same position we ended up in before. So anyway, I mean, that's why I feel the way I do about it.
When we have a separate discussion about the food pantry, when we decide how much we want to spend, what our account is gonna be, once we get some ideas of what it looked like, I don't think that this council has an appetite for, a project without having a budget, the limit on it. I think we all feel strongly that has to happen, but it would seem to me that we have to have a separate discussion, separate document, not the RFP for the design of the park.
Well, and I'm fine with that too, but then this needs to be worded differently. It is anticipated that additional funds will be available. But
how would you suggest you'd like it worded?
I don't know.
I would almost say just that part of the sentence that she just said be stricken,
Just
And
read
just say construction is need to recover from separate funding sources to tax that.
Okay.
I don't know if that accomplishes the whole goal that you were.
Yeah, and if that last, if that last sentence was just, or last couple sentences were just striked out. Because then it says, we'll find a design and a new permanent home for the food pantry.
So,
And maybe it expands on there to act, I mean, because Bruce said that it doesn't say in here either. If. You know, they can identify that maybe the classroom buildings can stay.
but that's part of their design process.
Right, but it doesn't ask them to do that in here. It talks about,
But they're gonna see that site, they're gonna go through it, you know, at their preliminary meeting. And I think they're gonna have a pretty good idea when they go through those.
That will be-
Those buildings.
Even
it
there.
says right here, there are 3 structures anticipated to be demolished.
Anticipated.
Right, but then it goes on, I mean, okay. It's fine. I mean, if you guys are good with this, that's fine.
I agree, I had some concern about
I like
that
cutting
because
out
it's a,
what Eric suggested, cutting out those with the,
Yeah.
at the beginning of that sentence, wasn't it? Wasn't it, didn't
No,
one have
it-
the destruction of the food pantry will come from a separate funding source will be taxed separately?
Yeah, but I don't know much of it.
Well, I know, but it changes it a little.
I had some concerns about the paragraph 2 that you're referring to that says anticipated to be demolished. It's kind of in the
So
past,
it's
because
Yeah,
the second is 5,000 square feet, 1-story concrete masonry unit, CMU block and wood frame structure with 4,000 square foot classrooms and ancillary office space that is currently being used as a emergency food pantry. And the other one is actually just an empty building that is not going to be reused. So I think there's some clarification that we could make there, but
Which paragraph?
And then the 2 paragraphs like.
Oh. I think that's in the definition, because right at third of the five. The upper limit, the ceiling, but the 6.5 million includes that demolition if it's part of the design.
well,
Not
Well,
a
the buildings,
separate-
instead of that, being phrased like that first sentence, instead of saying there are 3 structures anticipated to be demolished, and there are 3 structures currently occupying the site. And then it lists the largest and all of them. Or teams, and as opposed to the leading statement of 3 structures anticipated to be demolished, when the thought process that Terry is going with is. There's the potential that they could reuse one of them, but it was very in paragraph that they're anticipated to be demolished. That's leading them to believe that it's a done deal, that's what the plan is to demolish. Forward,
You're right, I think that doesn't clear, you just take that sentence out. But there are 3 structures on the site.
and then it leaves.
It leaves it
And
open.
then it leaves 2 paragraphs before, still open for them to design either using an existing building or. Building a new structure or bringing in portable, whatever design. The potential applicant comes up with.
You think that's all fair? Is that better?
It doesn't fix the budget number.
Well,
well,
I like that change.
yeah, you do. And it does, if we strike the last 2 sentences in that 4th paragraph, or 3rd, I guess, there was a paragraph in there that was already stricken,
And then it just.
that kind of buttons that up and then, and adjust that 6th paragraph. And you know, maybe it says that the Kwanzaa head is coming out, like we know what we want gone. And then what could be, I would be fine with that. What could be left, reworked, if possible.
Like actually make it clear that the consequence is gonna be demolished, so they know that that's included in the budget.
and the former portable, this was food pantry.
It's going to be
Obviously,
small, so
yes.
that would make more sense, cause then you're sure that that's.
So then my question about food pantry. Building the portable that's, quasi condemned currently, there was an email that came out, I don't remember the exact version of what specifically came out, but, I think Bruce mentioned that you wanted to demo the building ASAP because it's a safety hazard sitting there. Do you anticipate that demolition occurring prior to this? The designer getting eyes on the site? Is there gonna be a third building there? Is there only gonna be 2 buildings there when a firm comes to look at the site?
I can't imagine the building being reused.
No.
And so, rather than wait until the end, my suggestion was to take the building down. Probably, hopefully before we have a, meeting of the contractors out there. So that they can see, wait, there's a whole nother vista here that's been hidden for years, which is looking out towards the ocean. And so if we can just go ahead and make that happen, because we're not gonna reuse that building. Then I just thought it made sense to go ahead and do that in advance.
So that wouldn't be included in the 6 pump dollars that take it.
Well,
And is it,
to me, it would be included in the 6.5. But you all can decide what's in 6.5 and what's not.
do we have a bid on removing that building?
I don't think we do.
Could
They
we?
rough number from Remington demo, I think that was in the documents we had.
And it's been decommissioned, right? There's no electricity to it or anything, water going to it anymore.
There's no electricity, and moving everything out this weekend.
Yeah, has the water been disconnected from there, from the, modular, the food pantry, has the water been disconnected?
No,
But the electricity is gone.
no electric.
Yeah.
And
And-
natural gas as well.
And we're still, using the bathroom because the porta pots that we got still need some repair work. But they're supposed to.
It's into good porta potties, no good shorts, it's not bad,
Just one of those many things.
Oh my goodness,
But they're supposed to come before, I think they're coming Thursday to fix our porta pot.
So it's still unclear to me whether, this project is going to, include the construction or the destruction of that, or whether it's going to be removed before.
Sounds like it's gonna be out beforehand, maybe we could get a number from Burnmark, I think Rusty just said that he could get a number. And. I mean, didn't you say that it was gonna be about, how much did you say, Bruce, it was gonna be to remove all of those buildings if we took them out? Like 500?
They make approach 500.
Yeah.
The most expensive is gonna be the gym,
Mhm.
with all the handling of all the small material.
Yeah,
I don't have any problem with that removal being part of the 6.5, that.
I think it'll be.
Change it.
Honestly, the price for removal, from what I remember, is 750 for all three.
Everything,
buildings.
yes.
So the removal of the
It's
building,
gonna be-
probably push over to remove,
That's what you say.
Gonna be pretty
it's probably not gonna be very expensive.
Yeah.
And I don't see why it need to be separate from 6.5, but probably 5,000 something.
Yeah, I prefer to just keep it separate.
And that could just be done in an accounting fashion if we did it first, right? Yeah, and then we could just back it into that.
Okay, so Jen, have you captured all of our suggestions?
Can I just do a quick rundown of what I heard now? Okay, so that sentence in the third paragraph that says it is anticipated that the additional funds will be available for only the design of the food pantry. Oh, that part of that's probably, we're gonna take out that anticipated, the additional funds, and so then it starts with construction of the new food pantry will come from separate funds, right? You just take out that previous sentence.
The whole thing, all whole sentences.
Oh, the whole sentence, including construction of the new food pantry, so the whole thing goes.
Yeah, because
Okay.
they're not I mean, otherwise you're asking them for construction of the new food pantry, both of those sentences.
Okay, both of those are
Yeah.
gone. At the bottom of the page, we'll change it to say there are 3 structures currently occupying the sites. I was just a little unclear on the, do you want to include the demolition of the Quonset hut now, or have that be discussed during the design process with the selected designer?
Didn't we kind of say that we should just say the Quonset hut's coming out, right? We aren't saying.
So then, the largest is the 7,500 square foot wood frame gymnasium constructed in a Quonset hut configuration that is anticipated to be demolished.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or the cost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got it.
Anything else?
Well, on the, were we gonna add anything about the possible reuse or demolition of the classrooms? Was that part of what you said, Eric?
No, that's not what I was saying, but I think that's what Gary was, commenting before I made that other suggestion.
I mean, we could give an and or scenario there.
I'm dubious if we could save that building, or use part of the building, and still put in $6.5 million to the park that we want to have. So I'm very dubious that that's possible, but I think it's, it would take, you know, a professional to look at it and make that.
Definitely something we need to look at. I agree with that. I think maybe we make that sentence into an and or. We would like to see it reused if possible, but we're also open to having it demolished if that's necessary.
So the second is 5,000 square foot, blah, 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 1,000 square foot classrooms and ancillary office space. Which may be retained if
Design. Design.
Could be
They may
incorporated,
not be incorporated in design.
could be
design.
incorporated into the
Yeah,
design
yeah.
or demolished if necessary.
Right.
And by the time.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yes.
Mhm.
yes,
Okay.
So we're gonna make some changes and then we'll bring it back to the April work section for you guys to review, or the April meet.
What about the third building, the food pantry?
That's coming out.
It may or may not be there, and it still says that in here, so if it's not in here, I mean, we're gonna get out there.
Get to demolishing or.
I think that's gonna be a may or may not.
Yeah, I think that we need to put in that sentence, there may or may not be a third building.
You talking about the old food pantry?
Yeah.
Well, we are.
Well, it may or may not be in existence, but.
Oh, I thought we were gonna do
Right.
it.
Yeah. Well, that's what we would like to do. Things happen.
Okay.
So should I put that we anticipate will be removed before the beginning of this project?
Yeah.
That's good. You okay with that, Barry?
absolutely, yeah.
I'm sure we can. I'm really convinced.
So I think we.
Okay. Anything else?
Just a quick question, is there a reason why this, what we discussed, couldn't be approved as amended tonight, or is there anticipation that we're gonna find some more stuff in the next?
I wouldn't mind spending a few more minutes on it and moving it forward. That's what my big salad was for. It's like, oh, here we are. We should do another meeting.
That's what I was curious, like, is this
That's why I asked.
finalized?
I recognize your size.
With those amendments, and the amendments were relatively simple, I think Jennifer was able to capture those.
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with that too, instead of.
Gary, are you fine?
I'm exceptionally fine with it.
If there's no opposition, I motion to approve.
Oh, we do have one on a date that Barb,
Oh, yeah.
I have a wrong year, so I am gonna change that, 2027 to 2026.
Alright, so, I move to approve the Beaches Park and Park Element Design and Construction Services request for proposals as amended tonight.
Second,
Any further discussion? Everybody values it. Okay, roll call, please.
Counselor Hayes,
yes.
Council President Kerr. Yes. Counselor Ostrander,
Yes.
Counselor Manley,
Yes,
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Okay, thank you, everyone. On that one. Okay. So next, we are on the Acres Park, committee interest forum. Bruce?
Yes, at February 10th work session, council discussed having a process for those interested in being on the selection committee for the Coos Park RFP. Attachment A is draft interest form for the council review and input. The selection committee will be advertised at the post office, Chamber of Commerce newsletter, Facebook, bulletin newsletter, and the city's website. Staff recommends the deadline is Monday, March 30th. The applications are to be reviewed at the April 7th meeting. If a longer advertising period is desired, the application deadline will be Monday, April 6th, with a review at the April 14th meeting. I think I talked about it the last time. This is very labor intensive and paper intensive. And whoever you select should be ready to go ahead and spend that kind of time. And listening to a bunch of different people. Picking what is in the RFP and saying, this is what I could do for you.
And it is a huge time commitment. Yes.
And in that, how much do we anticipate they're going to present as far as design, or is it much more about their qualifications to do this project?
Qualifications, experience.
Yes, so it's not like this committee reviewing designs.
No.
It's really to judge their qualifications.
To review
complete the
design.
project.
And team vetting.
What's that?
a vetting process.
Yeah, I just think, at a glance, this sounds like, oh, yeah, I wanna be involved in the. The committee gets to say what the design looks like. That's not what this is.
No, not.
Yeah.
The reason I suggested and wanted to see something like this is I just wanted more transparency of who's being every decision at every level across through this. And then, with that, I had a couple of notes for the application.
Okay.
I had a thought, I don't know, if it fits into an application like this, but, if there's a way to put it in there, but, my thought was that, interested applicants should have a good understanding of what tourism restricted dollars means in terms of TLT.
Yeah.
Just like the applicants to the tax committee. And those applicants should be cognizant of the abilities of the firms they're selecting to be able to work within the confines of providing a tourism specific project that has a secondary benefit of non-tourism use, as opposed to just looking at all firms that have all stuff and holding it that way. I don't know if that fits into anything or if that's just something I can say and move on, I'm not sure. If that fits into the
No, I
application.
think that's a good
I think it's good too.
point.
And then the second one was an actual change I was curious about. The second question that it has, what makes you qualified to select an architect? I was wondering about changing that to what makes you qualified to select a design firm for this project. I feel like the word architect makes it seem like this is, you're looking for people that are gonna have an expertise in looking at architects when this is technically it would be a partner, after whatever, but
Okay,
not building, and then having two sub-questions within that. Or examples possibly, not sub-questions, but examples, if you have experience reviewing or evaluating architectural firms. And do you have experience and understanding of, the tourism needs in Cannon Beach? Or somebody reviewing these? Because I was trying to think of what expertise somebody could have in terms of reviewing a park designer or something like that. I don't feel like the word architect hit that.
No, and I think you're right.
But yeah, that's why I selected design firm for this project. And then I just spitballing about experience reviewing, evaluating architectural firms and experience and understanding of tourism needs in Cannon Beach.
do you want to use the term architectural firms or you want to say design firm?
Oh, I like design firms. I think that's what this, what we're seeking is design firm.
Yeah.
And that's what it says.
I don't think so. I actually don't care for that. The second suggestion, I think the design firm is great. But I don't really like that they would have to have a knowledge of, you know, the tourism needs of the Cannon Beach. I'm interested.
Yeah, I think I'm an extremely conscious statement here.
I question that one, but I definitely think knowledge of the use of these restricted tourism dollars is, valid.
I don't think that they'll be involved with that.
Well, I was thinking that in terms of being able to evaluate an application, does previous projects, this architecture or this design firm completed, would these projects fit within our understanding of restricted PLT funds, or do past projects they've done, do none of those projects fit within what would be considered the restricted tourism dollars?
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Well, and it also, I'm sorry, were you done?
No, those are my comments.
It says in here that you have to have owned real property located within the city or the urban growth boundary, and that really, restricts the amount of people that we can draw from.
What's the vote for, right?
It's, you have to have resided here for the year before or lived here or own property. That's from our code for all the other committees and commissions that we have. So you don't have to own property, you have to live here for at least a year.
Okay.
So it's an either or.
Oh, I didn't notice another typo. Or a typo, not another typo. In the time commitment, the third line, at the end of the third line, says this process, and then start again. There was, the line right above that, this process. This said this process was used, maybe I'm looking at a different version. Is that all was fine? Never mind, I take that back.
So,
Okay.
once people turn in these, you know, these forms, who's making the decision? The council will look at all these applications that take.
All 5 of them.
And then still like 2 or 3 staff members, right? Like that was, like, the relevant staff members that were a part of the last process.
The discussion that we had was that it would be people that selected through here, we not talked about having staff. I don't have a problem with having staff, but I think you should still try to keep it to 6.
Well, and that's, I kind of, maybe I wasn't clear, I just was thinking I didn't have a problem with the other process, other than that I felt like it was a hand-selected committee without public input for the public portion, or the community members who were involved as opposed to the staff, because I don't have a problem with
I think the staff.
the staff members, the whatever positions, the relevant positions decide.
2 staff and 4 people, or 3 and 3, but I think we definitely have this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so you've got all the changes in the application. Do we want to talk about when we want the deadline? March 30th seems to be approaching quickly.
Yeah,
That's 3 weeks.
yeah.
we're gonna need to put something out, I mean, it needs to be put out on social media too,
So
so.
that's why I'm thinking maybe the deadline should be April sixth, and we will
On the 14th.
decide on the 14th.
At least a month,
Because I think we need to talk it up. With some interest. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah,
Okay, would anyone like to make a motion? So we don't table this.
Go ahead, please, no.
I didn't have any question yet. I moved to approve the Nekus Park and Park Animal Design Construction Services Selection Review Committee interest form.
I'm
Evan.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call please. Yeah.
Council President Kirk,
yeah.
Councilor Osenton,
Yes.
Councilor Hammond,
yes,
Councilor Hayes,
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Turning to the back page of our agenda. We have resolution 2607. Property.
Right. Good evening, Mayor Knopf and members of the council. The resolution before you is to authorize us to sign up purchase sale agreement with the Holland Family Trust. I'm sorry, I have it named like 3 different places, but it's actually what we found out is Haystack Hill is what the Holland family officially calls it. So again, this agreement is for 3.125 million and essentially states that in section 6.1.2 that if that money is not raised, be a fundraising, and then if it's not raised, you as a council do not come to negotiate a different price with them, then this agreement terminates. So once this agreement is okay, then Orca can begin the fundraising process. And again, it was reviewed by, so the attorney on our side is Seth Martin, who we often use for real estate transactions, and Larry Popkin was the attorney on the Holland Family Trust.
So did you saw the letter that came in?
I did.
And so, you know, I'm not a real estate attorney and I don't know the merit of all those suggestions, but it does concern me and I'd like to either have our attorney answer to those concerns or, you know, I mean, I could not approve this when I'm not sure if these concerns are valid or not.
If that is the case, then we can bring it back in April. If you wish.
Because when did they say that it was
Heather's back at the end of the month.
at the end of this month? Okay.
I mean, we're gonna let Heather have all these, you know, notes.
We'll set them up to her.
Answer those, 'cause-
Well, I mean, when I looked through his notes, a couple of the writings were, one, he didn't like the closing timeline, it was too soon. Well, that's what the Holland family had, and that's also, if you look at it, we also agreed to be able to, through mutual agreement, to extend the agreement. He had a question at the bottom or at the end where he stated that Campbell and Popkin was a realtor firm, and that is not true, it's actually a law firm. And Larry Popkin is their attorney who I'm going with. From my standpoint, again, I think we have done the due diligence. Again, my major concern with this was that if the money was not raised via fundraising, then, but this has the clause that would take care of. So I would be happy to bring Heather back in April with regards to Clay's comments, if you wish. That will delay the fundraising for another month.
And make that time frame even shorter, that.
It would, we probably will have to adjust the closing time.
Right.
Except.
Right, you could just that one.
What's that?
And closing.
Mhm.
The other thing I would ask is just that on the signature page, I'd like to see somewhere in this document, an affidavit or something saying that these people are the only, the only owners, an affidavit. And so that at some point in the future, another person has to pop up and say, hey, I'm entitled to, my seven minutes, or whatever. And then fine. So I think we need to have an affidavit asserting that all the people listed here on that final signature page are the only people who have titles, or, it's not title, who are legitimately owners of the land. However, that's very specific.
We'll get that.
The only concern I had with there's a bunch of interesting comments that, everybody sent in with this, but in the deed restriction, like, I feel like I tend to, I think we said, yeah, that it's, that number two kind of seems vague, and I'm still concerned that it reverts back to their ownership of the deed restriction isn't followed. Still I feel like that's in a natural forest, the state has access to established trails. I feel like, I don't know if that's too vague, and I'm assuming our attorney reviewed that.
Yeah, and we took the language from sorry, I'm not gonna remember his name, John Guion. Guion, something like that, who gave the state property. Yeah, so that's where that, language came from.
Okay, I was concerned, I started thinking that if we do, restoration efforts through invasives, does this count as not an natural forest of the state, means that then reverted back to their ownership?
I will follow up with those questions.
Anything else? Well, this will come back at the April.
It would be the April 7th meeting.
Okay.
I had one question.
Okay.
Are the Hollins going to are they gonna push back on an extended closing date?
I don't know, I haven't talked
Well,
with
you
them.
have been,
I have been.
wondered.
So this is what so I actually, when I came back, because we had been so long in between, I actually recommended that we extend it out to August, and they came back with me, or Claire came back with the June date. So when I'll talk to Beth, and Mark probably tomorrow, and tell them where we're at, and then I'll reach out to Larry, so. I don't know how much they'll push back, but again, this delays it another month for them to be able to start the fundraising, so thank you.
Okay, anything else? Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, then number 2 is a resolution. And what this is doing is to appropriate money for current litigation expenditures. So what this does, the litigation, of course, is with regards to wastewater. So that is currently where we have been tracking the expenses for vehicle. However, due to some feedback and actually the size of them, what I'm recommending is that we appropriate that money in the non-departmental general fund, so then it won't get spread out to everybody. And therefore, it won't dramatically impact the wastewater department and fees or rates. So what I'm recommending is that we appropriate the money in here, we move the legal expenditures to the general fund, particularly with the litigation, stuff that comes out of the litigation. Of course, I believe would be paid for by the wastewater fund, but the litigation itself, I believe we can pay for in the general fund, and then that would limit the impact on ratepayers. 2 things, so I'm in a typo mood. Whereas it is anticipated, in the 4th whereas, it is stated that it should just read, it is anticipated that a total of 300,000 will be needed to fund the litigation. And then, on the actual numbers, I subtracted instead of added. So the non-departmental materials and services, the new number would be 1.344539.
Covered my
Questions?
concerns.
What's that?
You covered my concerns. The fourth whereas was,
Yeah, it's, sometimes when Tim's in a hurry, there's a staff report from a previous staff
Yeah,
report. So that was the cow's staff report. Part.
So I had a concern or question about, going forward then for transparency of how much the city's spending on legal fees per department. Is that still gonna get tracked? Is that gonna be noted in the budget within that non-departmental?
Yes, it will. So you will see when I do reports, and I can actually, that it will have a large legal fee inside that non-departmental when we do, your finance. So you'll know how much we've actually paid. It just won't be reflected in the, wastewater fund. What we've done, what happens a lot is where the majority, like for Jody and a lot of her work, we charge the executive department in the where the majority of the legal fees are budgeted, and then that gets spread out to everybody. So what we're just trying to do in this case is not go through that where it's gonna spread back out to everybody. It's just the general fund that's gonna pay. But you'll know what the total legal fees that we spend in a year are.
Okay, well, will it be split to indicate which departments were accruing these legal fees?
I mean, we can do it with a note. I can do it with a note that where it actually came from. Yeah.
Some kind of note might be nice, just so.
Yeah, so we'll know, why did we spend 300,000 in the general fund that we didn't want that, should we know?
Nice.
Yeah, especially the first year or the end of this year, if this is the change we make, that's gonna be a substantial change for us to look back at for reconciliation of, well, why did we spend an additional $300,000 in legal? Where did it come from? Where did it go? Without notes of like, oh, well, 200 was for wastewater stuff.
And this isn't like all litigation. This is strictly the litigation with regards to the wastewater.
Oh,
That's strictly it. So I'm not asking for additional funds for other litigation pieces. I'm just asking for this lawsuit.
Oh, for this particular
one, because the dramatic impact, I believe that will have on the wastewater department and wastewater rates. So that's really what I'm kind of saying. So it's only this, I wouldn't charge extra stuff there or anything like that.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so no, this is strictly for wastewater,
Okay.
for the wastewater litigation.
I move to approve resolution 26-8 as amended by Mr. Collier for the purpose of approving increases and decreases to the fiscal year 25-26 budget by making an intra-fund transfer of appropriations for the costs related to litigation in the 25-26 fiscal year.
second,
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Counselor Ostrander,
Yes.
Counselor Hammond,
Yes.
Counselor Hay,
yes.
Council President Kerr,
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, next we have a proclamation of declaring March as Red Cross Month. Bruce?
Yep. For council tonight is proclamation declaring March 2026 as Red Cross Month. Every March, we honor people who make the life-saving mission of the American Red Cross possible. The individuals across the country who turn compassion into action, helping others in times of crisis. The Red Cross Month celebration has been an annual tradition since 1943, when President Franklin D. Roosevelt issued the first Red Cross Month proclamation. And the suggested motion is I move to approve proclamation 2602, declaring March 2026 Red Cross Month in Canada.
So,
Copy of the resolution text.
Okay, is there a second? Okay.
I just wanted to say today was, blood drive for the Red Cross. Red Cross does a lot more than just blood drives, but that's a really easy way for people to get involved, and the next blood drive is June 2nd.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, roll call please.
Counselor Hannah,
Yes.
Counselor Hayes,
Yes.
Council President Kerr,
Yes.
Counselor Ostrander,
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Would anyone like to read this proclamation or would you like to just move on?
Let's accept it and move on.
Okay, sounds good to me. Okay, next we have appointment of city committees and boards and commissions. And we have two people applying for the one vacancy on the planning commission. And then we have a renewal for the tourism and arts commission. So is Janae on? Okay. So Kim is in the audience, and was there anything new that you would like to say from your last application?
Sure.
Okay. All right.
Good morning, you have us 429 Kent Beach. Couple of quick stories. I serve on the budget committee, as you know, and in the 24-25 budget process, I was the vice chair of that committee. I was a lonely voice saying, didn't think we should, I'm so sorry. Alarms are going off. There was a lonely voice saying, we shouldn't increase our contingency 50%. And I argued against that. Ultimately, I had to resign the position as vice chair because there's an attestation that said I needed to sign it saying these are our best estimates, and any estimates were not good. Our crack finance director, Tim Collier, had just joined the city, so he had nothing to do with that budget. But of course, the next year, the 26 fiscal year that we're in right now, he reined that in big time. And he aligned our reserves, and we passed that budget. The 25 budget, I was the lone dissenter. Okay, so I'm used to being the lone dissenter, and I'm going to be the lone dissenter from time to time. I'm sorry, Andrew Tonery left. I appreciate the things he said, but I would have liked him to hear that his service on the NECUS committee last time around was really frustrating. But that said, we have a good exchange of ideas. And that's, to me, what public service is about. Looking at you all, I did not support Councilor Hammond for her election. I did support Councilor Ostrander, and I did support Mike Bates. Now it was surprising that I supported Mike Bates because we had clashed over the tree committee and the initial, but we sat down, we had a couple of cups of coffee together and we worked things through. So I believe in that process, and I think I'm pretty good at that process. I know you're in possession of a note from Clayton, and I'll agree with some of what he said. He says effective service requires not only sound judgment, but also respect for fellow volunteers and a commitment to civility and trust in the integrity of your public process. I think I've demonstrated that pretty well in my service, the city, and sorry, me too. And my fellow citizens spoke in my support without
agree unanimously with everything that stood for over time. So I'm gonna stop there because somebody's really gonna get the, I'm sorry, but thank you.
Thank you. Engineers, okay. Okay, would anybody like to make a motion? Oh, roll call, sorry.
Okay, so I'm gonna do a roll call vote, and you're gonna let me know which of the two candidates you would like to vote for, and then afterwards, so you make a motion and accept.
Okay, where's the discussion?
Oh, you can have a section before I do that.
Oh. Well, I would just like to say a couple of things, the first one is Janae applied for, planning commission a couple of years ago. And at that time, I actually vehemently opposed her appointment because I felt like she hadn't attended very many planning commission meetings, that she hadn't paid much attention to what the planning process was, and that she hadn't familiarized herself with the code based on things she had said. Since that time, I know she has been going to planning commission meetings, attending them or attending them on Zoom. She has familiarized herself with the code, and she has, I think earned that position. This is like the third time she's applied for it, and I think by this time she has earned the position. I will also say that, the same reasons that I gave for turning Mr. Rainey down a little over 2 months ago still exist today, and if anything, they're exacerbated. I think it was too soon to appoint that, and it's still too soon. I think that it would be great if you could establish a track record of, to show a willingness not to target individuals and focus on the issues at hand. I would like to see him establish a track record for being able to put issues before personal grievances. That isn't the case at this time. I think based on all the communication over the past few months, and in short, I think it's too soon. One last thing. I appreciated the remarks at the beginning of the meeting and in the public comments. However, I think everybody on this council, everybody on the planning commission, and our development director, all are dedicated to seeing and realizing the importance of seeing workforce middle housing in this community. I think all of us are. It's not an easy process to work through. I think our new development director is going to make great strides for seeing that happen. And that the planning commission will support his ideas, as will the council, a lot of his ideas. Not all of them necessarily, but I think we all are dedicated to that. So I don't think that's something that's particular to any other.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, you ready for?
Okay. Counselor Hayes,
I'll give a vote to Tim.
Council President Kerr,
Janae?
Councilor Ostrander,
Janae.
Councilor Hammond,
Janae.
Mayor Knopf.
Janae.
Okay, so then I will need a motion.
I need to appoint Janae. Here, yes, here's motion to be the new member of the planning commission.
And she will begin April 1st.
And she will begin April 1st.
Second. Okay. Roll call privilege.
Council President Kerr,
Yes.
Councilor Ostrander,
Yes.
Councilor Hammond,
Yes.
Councilor Hayes.
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Who's coming off?
I think Aaron.
Aaron,
Here.
yeah. Is not renewing.
Not really.
Right.
Don't have it, see what it looks like.
No, he's been really good about sitting on camera.
Nobody has to.
In fact, I
just met him, so I know, but a lot of people don't know.
yes, I think he's done a really good job of being a good Zoom participant.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, and then we have a renewal for Libby for the Tourism and Arts Commission, and I believe she is on Zoom one. Because she didn't want to spread her germs, so thank you for being responsible. And, do you have anything you'd like to say? Had you?
Good evening. Thank you. Yes, on the tail end of a cold, so not there in person tonight. I have really enjoyed my 4 years on Tourism and Arts Commission and am seeking renewal as we are expanding our scope of work and working on the public art policy. And I guess that's it. Just kind of wanted to say thank you for the last 4 years and looking forward to 4 more if you all choose to appoint me. So if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer any.
You're currently chair, right?
I was actually Greg Swedenborg became chair last month. I was chair for, oh gosh, almost 2 years.
Okay, so you're a member of ours currently on that committee? You're not vice chair?
I am not vice chair. I chose to let others step up for the next year and didn't throw my name in the hat. But and so Greg and then Tom Allison is vice chair.
And you did a very good job chairing that committee.
Oh, thank you very much. It has been really interesting, and worked with Jennifer on doing the online automated application for grant funding, and just kind of looking at the processes and trying to make them accessible and provide clarity and new scopes of things that we're looking at as far as funding goes.
Any other questions? Okay, what do you would like?
I moved to renew Lydia Gass to the Tourism and Arts Commission for a second 4-year term.
Second. We all said it.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilor Strander.
Yes.
Councilor Hanson.
Yes.
Councilor Hayes.
Yes.
Council President Kirk.
Yes.
Mayor Now.
Yes. Okay, thank you, lady.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Get better. Okay, next we have, the business Oregon law increase, and we have Chris with his supporter. Yeah.
Awesome. Just asking Tim if you wanted to come.
And he said, oh, please, let me talk.
So this is for Business Oregon loan increase award for the phase 3. That's the new water reservoir that we're building. So quick background, City of Cannon Beach has entered into a 1% 30-year maximum term loan for the water resiliency project phase 3, which is the new reservoir with Business Oregon. Through the course of construction, the project team encountered multiple change orders, resulting in increased costs above and beyond what was previously budgeted. A summary of the significant change orders is as follows. Over excavation change order, we incurred costs due to poor soils during dig out for the retaining wall construction. It was determined by the geotechnical engineer that substantially more soil was required to be over excavated. The cost of this change order was $94,136. A second substantial change order was the directional drill change order. This allows the new reservoir's discharge water line to be installed at a deeper elevation, which provides the city more reliability and flexibility by not relying solely on the siphon to provide water after a major loss of pressure. Cost of that change order was $60,735. The additional overall amount being requested is $275,000, which includes the cost described above and approximately $120,000 for contingency to ensure project completion. Unused funding will be reconciled in the final loan amount.
analysis and information. We were advised by Business Oregon to formally request the additional funds during their IFA board meeting. Tim and myself attended and presented at that meeting. We gained unanimous approval for the additional $275,000 requested. Attached, you will find a summary award letter. We expect the formal loan amendment paperwork to be provided shortly. So the original award amount was for $7,377,000. The amended amount is the $275,000 for a total award amount of $7,652,000. And there is a recommendation if council wishes to proceed with authorization of the increased loan award, a suggested motion is as follows.
Questions?
Was there any grant money for this loan? Was this only a loan or was there some forgiveness?
There was forgiveness in this loan. There was more forgiveness in phase one, phase two, I think it's.
There was $500,000 to this loan.
Yeah,
And principal.
and it's a 1% rate, which is.
On the summary of award that's listed there, this is the forgivable loan amount of $520,000.
So I have a question, did all of the contingency on this project get moved up? And that's why this is asking for doubling the contingency of what's being requested as opposed to just the 10 and 15%.
Yeah, any contingency that was included in the original amount has been used up.
Okay, so this is also to rebuild any other contingency.
Correct, we are advised to, since it was over a certain amount, we are advised to go ahead and ask for an additional amount of contingency, to ensure completion. I don't expect spending $1 of that contingency.
So should we have known that that contingency was spent before we got here? Or did we?
And then come out of work.
The original
contingency. That we can use
in a staff report?
I think we're made aware that there was actually unanticipated, work that had to be done. So I think we did that.
Yeah, I don't remember. Don't remember. Going forward though, maybe it would be nice, even if you don't have to spend any of this on future projects, when you need to get into contingency, just.
Put it in the monthly status report?
Yeah.
Great fun.
So what, so you were the 121,000 contingency, so that would. You don't have any anticipation, all the excavation's been done at this point, the ground's all opened up.
Correct.
So it's pretty much, we're good. The contingency just.
Yeah, the stage of construction that we're in, we're looking really good, but that's what contingency is for, obviously. And the last thing we wanted to do was go back and have to ask for a very small amount. Because I think that would have required going through this entire process again, and probably would have stopped us in our tracks. So the $120,000 extra is definitely above and beyond what I could even imagine and the contractors could imagine, but again, it's just a fail safe, and if we don't spend it, it just gets reconciled, so we're not.
We're not currently paying debt service on this loan yet, right?
Correct.
It's once the project's closed out.
Project gets
It's
closed
reconciled.
down, and it takes them about 6 months at the start for the repayment process, so I would assume with this project, it probably won't be until the end of 27, middle of 27, that we would have to start.
Okay, and at that point, the unused money went back, and then we're only paying on the actually spent.
What we actually spent.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I move to authorize the city manager and or mayor to approve the $275,000 increase in the loan amount from Business Oregon for phase 3 new reservoir project.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call please, Jen.
Counselor Hennon,
Yes.
Counselor Hayes,
Yes.
Council President Kerr.
Yes.
Councilor Ostrander.
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Okay, moving right along, we're at the monthly status report.
Short question, Chris, but Bruce might be able to answer it. It's Ion Water. It says 991 are currently signed up. How many total customers or what percentage of our total customers are then signed up? 991 are currently registered. I guess.
I don't know, but I can find that thing, find out first thing in the morning.
I was just curious what percentage we're at, because how much of the city is digitally keeping track of their water usage.
Yeah, we'll take a look, but I did want to find out that we've got council member Gary Hayes to sign up for Ion Water.
And I'll deal with that, I realize it's not just that I have a duplex, but, that sometimes tenants don't let you know when there's a dripping faucet.
Welcome to the land.
It's a powerful tool.
Yeah. It's a really good, I mean, I think that's a great.
It's safe, it's safe.
Yeah.
Less,
Yeah.
I got a report in the film, and they, yeah.
So you'll let us know that information.
I will let you know how many, the number and then the percentage of.
Great, thank you. Other items on the monthly status report. No? Okay. Next we have mayor communications. I can't think of anything. I know that Bonamici and Devati are both planning town hall meetings, but I believe they're in Tillamook on I think March 14th, but we received emails on those. Yeah. And League of Oregon Cities Spring Conference is, the registration is open if anybody's interested in going to Pendleton. April 23rd and 24th, I think, yeah. So if you're interested in going to that, register. I have been attending the legislative updates. They have, the League of Oregon Cities has those at noon on Fridays when the legislature's in session, so there'll be one more. And then a wrap up on Friday the 30th. There's a lot been going on in that short session. Anybody have anything for council communications? Okay, good in the order. Okay.
Two things. Okay. The first one I'd like to bring up is, the David's chair on the beach. If you don't know, it's a nonprofit that facilitates outdoor access to those who experience mobility challenges. And David's chair, I wasn't aware of this, they furnish the wheelchairs, they cover the insurance, they make the reservations. The only thing they ask their partner to do is to sign out the wheelchair and check it back in and store it. They need an 8 by 10 foot space to store it in when it's not in use. There was a partnership between Lowe's and David's chair, and it looked like it was gonna go, but then it fell through because Lowe's is not, the property is owned by Full-Van Inn, and their board of directors turned it down. So because of that, they need to find a new place. So I started looking at the beach towns that have David's chair, and it's kind of embarrassing that we don't. Seaside, Ashland, Rockaway, Civic City, White City, Manzanita, Gold Beach, Florence, Meat Tarts, and Newports, to just name some, all supply David's chair. And missing from that is Cannon Beach, and we really need to be added to that list. And so I'm encouraging the city to make room in our new city hall to store the chair and make some small accommodations. It turns out, to get this off the ground, Friends of Haystack Rock will support any financial parts of it for was it 3 years, I think? They got a $7,000 donation from a Travel Oregon grant. So they can agreed for 3 years that they will do any kind of financial support necessary. It just seems that even the reservations systems is handled by them. So I would like to see us bring in the fellow who runs Davis Chair. I think his name is Jeff. I don't know his last name, but I know that Lisa Havergal will know his name. And nobody else will, on the council does,
I heard him speak about 3 years ago.
Yeah, I'd like to.
I've been that in Sandcastle too.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, the chamber brought them out for the Sandcastle contest 2 years ago. Last year was raining, right?
Right.
So it's 2 years ago.
The only place really, I mean, because the Mo's ramp won't work. The only other one is the one that's right near City Hall. So, right down west of City Hall.
By
Yeah,
Wayfair, right there by Wayfair.
so that makes total sense for us to do this, especially since since Friends of Haystack Rock, which is a nonprofit. Who's supporting the Haystack Rock Awareness Program, they're willing to do this 3-year funding thing. It makes complete sense.
Didn't the city buy a wheelchair or two?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This is for, this is usable for people who have serious mobility issues too, right? And who can't even push themselves.
Sure.
So I think I would like to see it put on the agenda that you bring this guy in to speak to us really briefly and see that it's something that we do, not just talk about, but actually do. And I think it's gonna be up to the council to push it through and do the way things are now.
We've been in conversations with Friends of Haystack Rock. And we told them that we will try to find a place in City Hall.
Yeah, so, well, would all of you like to hear a little, brief thing from this? guy?
Yeah. And certainly, it's. Somebody could reach out to Vestas to Vestas Hospitality.
Yeah, Friends of Haystack Rock is doing that also.
That, serves.
Right.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
So can we put it on the agenda?
I will contact him and see if he's available.
Okay, great. And then the other thing is really quick, because I don't know enough about it, but it's something I need to start thinking about. I do know that there have been, there's been drone action in the city of Cannon Beach, and some drone action. There's been legislation, to try and limit the places that drones can fly. Well, we can't limit it. It's illegal to say you can't have drones in the airspace in Cannon Beach. We have no control over that airspace. But a friend of mine recently looked at her living room window and there was a drone just right at her window. I mean, she was so upset. Luckily she was dressed, but it's a huge invasion of privacy. And that they contribute to distressing nesting birds throughout the spring and summer. The problem is they're not allowed to disturb nesting birds, but what are you going to do? You're gonna call the police, you're gonna call state parks. By the time someone gets down there, the drone is gone. So what we can't control is the takeoff and landing of drones within the city limit. And that would really, really reduce the usage of them. You could get a permit to use the drone if you're doing mapping or for real estate purposes or something like that. There could be a permit process for legitimate drone use, but the only way to really control them from interfering with the birds, nesting birds of the rock, is to and your own personal privacy is to limit the takeoff and landing of drones. So.
But beach is state property, not city limits, so there should be no.
But we can't from the beach,
Yeah.
but people stand up on the road, on Hemlock, and they launch their drones to the rock from there. And that would be illegal to launch it from
Every state is open for comment on
They
their
are.
own policy
Oh,
right now.
Right now, yeah.
I testified before the committee last year, actually, and, because, Oregon Bird Alliance is, you know, that confusion. And, you know, there's just a lot of people who like to use them for recreation. I think they serve a purpose, like police oftentimes have to use them and they use them legitimately. I think that, you know, for mapping purposes or certain real estate things, a permit would satisfy the use of it. But, I mean, I'd like you to just think about it, and I don't know, I'd like to see legislation in this city that says no taking off a land without a permit, but.
That's, I worked for Texas Parks and Wildlife for a while, and within the limits of all Texas state parks, you had to get a permit to take off, and the permit was a free permit. You just literally had to go schedule an appointment with the park manager and tell him he or she why you were using a permit, and 99% of the time, if you went through that much effort, you're like, okay. But that was enough of a hurdle to the people that we're just doing weird stuff and doing weird stuff.
Why would anybody have to buy a drone at your house? I mean, what possible legitimate reason for there to do that? You, like you're walking down the street, having it flying over your head. You know, there's other cities that. I'll look into that, the kind of research, so I'll do it and see what other municipalities have some kind of, you know, drone regulations. And take off the land, but I think it's something.
I think whenever I see, drone footage shared on social media around, the rocks, and, you know, they always say, oh, this was done legally, but it's just, it does get other people.
Yeah.
That wanna do that same video.
Yeah, and some of those drones have really good cameras too, right? But they can be way far away and really zoom in. When, you know, the guy that's just coming for the weekend with his kids doesn't have that capability, and you're right, they just think, oh, I'm gonna go do this.
I don't know if the chamber has that policy on drone footage they share, but I think it should be enough.
Oh, just so it makes sense. I mean, it's really. So you'll do a little research? Yeah, I will. Okay.
Anything? We are, at our social media person for our bakery is going to be doing, a campaign about the elk. Just don't feed the animals, just a fun, almost Smokey the Bear kind of elk videos or reels or whatever for.
No, we've been working with, Birdie Media.
Oh.
Develop a campaign, so.
Nice, well, we decided that I thought it would be fun, we post elk videos that we get a lot of interaction about. And I thought, well, this is a good way for us just to take a step forward for stewardship for the community. And put together maybe 6 just little informational things that are just quick blurbs, so we'll see how that goes, but. If anybody can share.
When is our next
Tag the
health
city.
conversation?
I'm gonna defer to Ted.
We have an expert.
So.
We have an expert.
Was a two-prong, direction. So first was media campaign, so we are working with Birdie Media right now, so I'm about ready to sign the contract. To develop the media campaign. Then we reached out to Vanessa. Oh, her name has changed, it's Tisdale now. And so I had really good conversations with her, she was gonna come talk to the council. And now she's ghosted me. So, I'm back to the drawing board on my health behavior specialist. So we'll reach out, go through that report, I think again, that the Plaza County group came. And see if I can find some other names to come and talk to you about that, so.
But we have been working on.
I really have been working on it, I had her too, she was supposed to be at this meeting.
Yeah.
I think it would be worthwhile, I know we talked about it, in the last meeting to pass an ordinance about how close you can get to elk, if only for the public relations campaign saying Cannon Beach has passed an ordinance about the elk that explains why.
There's numbers that the US Fish, or the, Oregon, or EU Fish and the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife have that say numbers of this is what our recommended distance is gonna be. I can't remember what it is, it's 180 or something, it's some specific number that we could put into an ordinance, so we say like this. Stays far.
But it's one thing for us to pass an ordinance, but to get the word out.
But as part of the public thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's, just part of the public awareness thing, and,
But there's a safe distance in this, there's a distance.
And invest in roseberry instead of roses. Ooh, I like that.
I am more interested in those the plants that repel elk, or at least that they're not attracted to,
Rosemary,
and
yeah.
a little more awareness on that kind of thing too.
Yeah, yeah, our garden club had a big, meeting about that, because everyone was saying, what am I gonna do, you know? And it's just like, they start, a list of things that you can plant. Usually odoriferous plants, not bad odor, just strong, like rosemary has a very strong odor.
And rosemary grows well around
Yeah,
here.
Sage.
Sage
Sage
is
and it
another one.
blooms, so it's actually pretty.
Yeah,
It goes,
yeah, yeah. So there are things you can do simply to, modify your expectations in your yard.
Enjoy greenery.
Jody has her hand up. She's gonna write an ordinance for us, right?
Well, I just put my hand up so that you've noticed me eventually, but if there are other council members that want to speak on good of the order, I just wanted to give an update on the public meetings laws. And I didn't want to
Okay.
forget. But
Okay.
I can last.
You,
So.
you won't forget chair. I thought were volunteering to write an ordinance.
I would never volunteer for that. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So there are two bills, and I apologize if Mayor Note, you've already touched on either one of these, but there were two bills look ready to be passed at the legislature this year. One of them is I don't want to a complete fix for the council or coffee with counselors issue, but it does seem to move us in the right direction. I just need to do a little bit more analysis once it finally passes. And that one is actually House Bill 4177 for those who want to track it, but it essentially redefines deliberations, allowing easier communication by council members. Not quite so restrictive as we've been, under the gun with, especially in relation to the coffee with counselors. So that is slated to pass. Once it passes, I'll have hopefully a better update for you as to how it affects specifically coffee with counselors and just generally how you can communicate with each other. And then the other one, which is maybe not quite so much of a big deal for council, but certainly for staff, is House Bill 4161 fixes what was, in my opinion, a really horrible opinion that came out of OGEC that said any government provided lunches, food of any sort, we're talking snacks, even water bottles, needs to be included in a compensation package. So that was the opinion of OGEC. So the legislature corrected that, and that is also slated to be passed. That's House Bill 4161 for those interested. So I just wanted to give an update because I know coffee with counselors is an ongoing concern. And that's all.
In the meantime, we'll do it tomorrow and it'll be recorded. So be there.
Okay, Eric, do you have something?
I did, I assumed it would be for the order since we all received them, but, the comment we got about, the open fires ordinance that we passed, I went back and read the ordinance that we passed. I think based on our conversation, and I went back and rewatched our conversation too, that I think the comment that we received is accurate, that it completely bans including the natural gas gas fire pits.
He wasn't supposed to.
Yeah, that wasn't the intent, and I believe that's what we passed. When I went back and reread the section, I know nobody has it pulled up, but, 8.0, has broad enough language and, number 5 has broad enough language in it that doesn't, it basically just still fully restricts it, even though we spent all that time crafting in the definitions.
Right.
It doesn't carry over because within those definitions, it just says everything within that definition is banned.
So we need to fix that.
So,
So that's something that Daniel and Jeff have been working on the last couple days, trying to figure
Okay.
out all the details, and then, we were gonna talk about it tomorrow at a department meeting to figure out what changes need to be made and bring back to you guys.
yeah, because I think I kind of quasi came up with something, but if they're already working on something, I'll let
If you want to send it, that would be great. Daniel was, having some notes, because it was one of those things, they were start working on letters, and then just got a lot of phone calls, and then it was like, oh, shoot.
Yeah, because my understanding was what was being requested from the commenters we received that they wanna have a fire pit. I know there's a lot of, our neighbor has an STR and they have a natural gas fire pit, they think the fund over is with all that stuff.
Just so.
Just, they can do that sort of thing, and then the verbiage then bans them.
Right.
So then it's, why you get the phase time, we're banning it anyways, and it doesn't.
So we're gonna.
Okay, so there is an awareness of that.
It just became an awareness, and, Daniel's been talking to Jeff. Quite a bit yesterday.
Alright.
Okay, and I have an item for the order. If you have any spare time on Friday or Saturday, we are moving the food pantry location to the east classrooms that have, thanks to all of our city staff for helping us get, heat and light. We actually had a ceremony yesterday to turn the lights on, then they all worked, and the heat was lovely. But we're moving on Friday from 1 to 5 and Saturday from 12 to 4. You don't have to commit for the full 8 hours unless you want to. And, if we can use it, any help that you can spare, anytime you can spare to help us move. Huh? No, we talked about that, we thought, maybe we should find a Boy Scout group, and then we said, no, there probably need to be at least 18. So,
You said Friday, 1 to 5
and
and
Saturday, 12 to 4. And again, you don't have to donate all of your time, any help would be appreciated.
but I think I can send some.
Good, thank you. Anybody else have anything for good of the order? Jody, anything else?
Nothing for me.
Okay. Thank